Hi everyone. No one picked me up. I'm sorry we're late. Well, I have to be led all around. I don't know where I'm going.
My name's Chris Alexander, former editor of Sangoria, current editor of Delirium, and it's a great pleasure to be sitting beside this man for many, many reasons. Because he's responsible for a lot of my youth, and it wasn't just Halloween. I think A Boy Who Can Fly is probably my entry point into the Nick Castle universe. But first of all, hands together. We've already done it, but do it again one more time. Our history sitting right here. And obviously we know Nick from marching simpatico with John Carpenter in his career. But this guy was literally raised in film, raised in Hollywood. You talk a little bit about your father, who was a great, legendary Hollywood choreographer, also named Nicholas Castle. That one's a little bit tricky. Give it a good, there we go, all right.
Can you hear me here? Oh, good. So yes, my father was Nick Castle Sr. His real name was Nicola Casaccio from Brooklyn. He changed his name because back in the old days of vaudeville, you don't put Nicola Casaccio on the bill. You put Nick Castle or something equivalent. So he changed his name because he was a tap dancer. And he had a really strong career in that world. But vaudeville then, you all know what vaudeville is. Some of you people are too young to even maybe know the word, but vaudeville was just a live act that played in theaters, very much like movie theaters. So, and he danced by himself and with partners. He went on then to become a choreographer and did a lot of famous movies with people like Judy Garland and Fred Astaire and lots of folks, Gene Kelly. And then, then he went on to do movies, TV movies, and I mean TV shows like the Andy Williams Show and the Jerry Lewis Show and the Judy Garland Show. And I grew up in that world, in that kind of music. So I really did always love musicals and music and dance. But that's what drew me to going into film school, where I went to USC and met a very important person in my life, John Carpenter, who got me started. And many of you probably know the story about how I became the Shape in Halloween, the first one, which was, he was my friend. He was doing a movie. He had started directing before I did. And I said, why don't I hang around the set? And he said, good, well, as long as you're around the set, why don't you put this mask on and walk? And that's the beginning, and that's why I'm here, 40 years later.
Well, that's not the beginning. This is something we forget about. As a young guy, right out of USC with John, you get nominated for a freaking Oscar, like what, 69, 70, for doing some of the music. You co-produced, I guess, too, The Resurrection of Bronco Billy, which was a short film. And this guy, how old were you when you got an Oscar nom?
Well, let's see, that was 70, so 23.
So you must have, from that point on, knew that it was probably okay to hang out with John a lot because good things happen to you, right?
That's right. This was a short film, basically a student project that was well done. I was the cameraman on it, co-writer, and John Carpenter was the editor, and we both worked on the song for it and sang the song on it. So we had a lot of fun. It was with an actor named Johnny Crawford, who I know he's very famous as the son in the Rifleman series. You all see that? Yeah, with Chuck Connor. So, won an Academy Award for Short Subject in 1970. We felt, this is easy, and let's just do this for the rest of our lives. And we kind of did, but that was the last Oscar.
I was going to say, you followed the Oscar up with Dark Star, which is a totally like, what's going on here? Is anyone going to see Dark Star? Yeah, amazing film. Any memories of working with Dan O'Bannon on that movie?
Yeah, Dark Star, for those of you that don't know, was John Carpenter's first film. It also started as a student film at USC, University of Southern California, and his partner was Dan O'Bannon. Just think of that. You had John Carpenter, who goes on to become John Carpenter, and Dan O'Bannon, for the people who don't know, goes on to become a wonderful writer and a very good director. The most famous writing he did, of course, was Alien. And just a tremendous production designer and production person. It was just all around a great filmmaker. So you had a lot of talent with those two young people, and I just kind of tag along, played the beach ball monster, if anybody saw that, this kind of stupid breathing bubble.
Right.
And Dan O'Bannon, unfortunately, has passed away, but was, I thought, one of the underused talents in Hollywood. Just a tremendous creative individual.
Also director, of course, Return of the Living Dead, which is one of the greatest zombie films of all time.
Yeah.
But Dan, John, you, what I love about your career too is I really like Renaissance people. And I just love the fact that everybody wears so many different hats on the John Carpenter movie, even John himself. Pitching in to do the music just because, hey, no one else is going to do it, I can do it for cheap. And so, all of this stuff.
Right.
And you too. But can you talk a little bit about working with John in that sense, at a creative level, with everybody just kind of jumping in and just doing stuff?
Yeah, the world of independent filmmaking is a lot like going to film school in that sense. It's like you don't have the money, first of all, to hire people, so you're asking favors of friends, and you're getting people to run around. If you're the star of the movie, you're also pulling the lights and putting them up, and so it's that theory. And it is kind of fun because you become more of a family and you feel more attached to the project, really, in a way that wouldn't be if you were just hired. So that's a lot of fun, and this working with John was just like working with my teammate. So it was very casual, a lot of fun, and you learn quite a bit, from the both the successes and mistakes that you make on these things. And when I was talking to young filmmakers, I often talk about the most important thing about film school, or those early years. Everyone's going to learn how to do the craft. Everyone's going to have even their own creative approach, but the one thing that is indispensable is relationships that you make. And those are paramount. It certainly was for my career.
Yeah, just talking about Halloween, which of course everyone wants to talk about, we will. I know John I was talking to Dean Cundy at one point, that he shot Halloween, as well as The Thing, and many other Carpenter movies, one of the great cinematographers. But mentioning how much John loved Italian horror movies at that period was, I guess Suspiria was really hot. John was really into Suspiria, and he was making Dean watch these Italian movies. Did the same thing, or do you remember his passion for these movies? Did he make you watch any of these things?
That's a real interesting. No, I didn't know that story either, and no, I wouldn't have known Suspiria at that particular time. So you could see how advanced John was in terms of not only knowing the genres and that were out there and available to you, but also the film history that he was really strong on. And that helped. By the way, that's another good reason to be at a film school, is that you are, you do see a lot of film, and you start to appreciate all the little things that great filmmakers do.
Can you put on your mask again, man? Can you just do that? I think this is one of our visual as a reference point. There you go. Now, just look at that mask, because that's Captain Kirk, right? Is that true? That is the truth. So can you talk about the creation of the mask, how this came to be? Obviously, the script didn't say reverse Shatner mask. So.
No, I've heard the story enough times, I think, to tell it pretty accurately, because I wasn't there at the time that they were creating this. And there's a very talented, going back to my point about film school friends, well, this was John's high school friend, Tommy Lee Wallace. Does anybody know Tommy? Yeah, he's a really very talented guy, great director in his own right.
Director of Halloween 3.
Halloween 3, It, the TV show.
Friday Night 2.
All kinds of good stuff, and he comes to these things sometimes too. So I think, in fact, he's going to come to the one in what's the one in Cherry Hill?
New Jersey. It's a chiller. Is that
a Horror Hound.
It's a Horror Hound.
In August. So if you guys are in that area, you might want to meet him. He's a wonderful guy. Anyways, he was John's friend. Went to USC Film School. Was on his other films. He was the one that said, okay, we need something for the mask. And he went into a toy store on Hollywood Boulevard, very famous one, toy and magic store, and then looked at all these masks. He found this one thing was a clown mask. The second one was William Shatner. Looked at him and, I could do this, and this, pretty easy, and it'd be a very blank face, it'd be interesting. So he did that. He did a little bit of mock-up, changed the color a little bit, and the hair. And I remember him telling the story about they did John and Deborah Hill, and I forget who else, were sitting in a room, and they basically brought in an actor with one mask in, was the clown. They went, whoa, that's pretty scary. But then when they brought in this mask, they just stopped and they had a chill. And they went, oh my God, is that cool? And they knew it right away, you know. They just knew it right away. So, and it was like, I mean, how, you know, it's nothing that was like precisely made for a movie. It was like, you just bought it off the shelf, cut the eyes out a little bit, you're whitening it up, and screw up with the hair. And, you know, it just works. So it just takes the imagination of someone as creative as Tommy, and of course John to recognize that.
With a lot of happy accidents along the way.
Yeah.
You know, just again, watching this gent walking around with the mask on earlier and looking at him, and it's very intimidating, even though you've seen this, to have this blank-faced automaton just moving amongst you. What was it like on set with you with the mask on? When people kind of, I'm sure it's Nick under there,
yeah,
right?
we know it's Nick under there.
The visceral reaction to that.
You know, I frankly don't remember it scaring anybody, mainly because I just don't. Not a very scary guy. You know, that may have something to do with it. I get the same reaction to you, though. I mean, I'll see little kids with it on, walking around going, "Ee," you know, in these conferences. But no, I think you know, it was it maybe just didn't have the same effect. It has the lure of now of the whole.
It's iconic.
Yeah, iconic image.
Yeah. You know, we do have a little bit of a short time because sadly we didn't fetch this man in time to get here right at the beginning. But I'm sure everybody's got questions. And the procedure is come on up and line up in front of this here microphone. And you know what, I'm going to let this young gentleman go first. Because this guy always says, bring your question. I love this guy's question. Now that's a little, can you get that down there? Yeah,
okay. If Michael Myers had a fight with Jason Voorhees, let's find out right now.
What, you want to fight him?
Yes.
Oh
my God. Okay.
It's a union thing. I don't know if you can do that.
That's right. No, I give up. You win. How's that?
No.
Oh no.
No, you're playing. You're just like me. You never die.
Well, maybe then we could fight forever. It's like John Carpenter's film They Live. That was a fight.
The greatest fight scene of
Fight
all time. It's like almost half the running time, that fight scene. It's a great, maybe later after the show you can go to his table and a little, you know,
you can come by the table, we'll talk about fisticuffs. Oops. You could just hand it to the next person. How's that?
Who's the next person? We got him on. Here we go. Come on, everybody. Let's go. Yeah, there we go.
Hi, Nick.
Hi.
The head tilt, was it scripted or improvised?
Well, that's a good point. I don't think it was scripted. And it wasn't, I didn't improvise it. I remember very distinctly being on the set and John basically puppeteering me, you know, from behind the camera. He said, tilt your head, and I went like that, and he went slower, now go back. And then we probably did a couple takes where he got it exactly the way he wanted it. So, you know, I had no idea what the hell he was doing. I was underneath the mask, just, you know, being directed by the master.
And real quick, when the shape kills the German Shepherd, how did they do that effect with the dog's legs going limp?
Well, they had the trainer in the shoes and, you know, and with the shape's outfit. And you know what? I didn't see that being shot because it wasn't in the scene. So I think that he just picked him up, you know, and had him train the dog to be dead weight.
Relax.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yes, ma'am. You know, just take it off and just pass it. Phil Donahue style.
I just wanted to put it at my level. So short. Hi, good afternoon.
Hi.
My question for you is, shortly thereafter, after the original Halloween, the writers for the very first Friday the 13th movie went and saw it and essentially stole the movie. This is by their own admission. I'm a big fan of their movies, but they pretty much said, we watched Halloween and we just took everything they had and put it into our movie because that was what was selling at the time. What was your guys' reaction, having made Halloween, to them pretty much stealing your movie and turning it into a blockbuster? Did you have any reaction at the time?
Well, first of all, you would certainly have to ask John the next time you see him on that particular question, because once the film was done, I went on my merry way trying to become a director, like I said, and that was, in fact, when Halloween 2 came, the only thing I had to do with that was lend them the old mask that I had. I lent it back to Deborah Hill, who was producing the new one, and never got it back.
Well, by the time Friday the 13th was happening, this guy was, John and this guy were prepping Escape from New York, which he cooked up, right? So, never looked back. But you know, it's funny, just quickly, because John was, you know, I said it had Italian horror influence of Suspiria, but Friday the 13th, to me, always felt like more of a rip-off of Mario Bava movie called Bay of Blood. Yeah, very, but anyways, yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Based on my first-hand experience wearing this mask, it's very hot. I'm sweating all the time, but I'm also laughing at people's reactions. It's hilarious. What was your reaction under the mask? Were you smiling watching people's fright?
Well, not really, because on the set, it was very planned, so it wasn't like you get walking through a crowd now, which is there is a little trepidation, I suppose. No, and I don't remember it being too uncomfortable. I remember I put on the mask, for the new one, which I thought was tighter, and it was a little bit more claustrophobic. But this one, I remembered it was looser, and it was fine. It was, you're not in it forever, and you can take it on and off. It's not like poor, Freddy Krueger, where you have to put on all those applications and everything else, and have to eat lunch with that stuff on.
It must have been amazing, because I think if you're a Halloween fan, which obviously everybody is, one of the greatest strengths of the movie. And I've always wondered what it would be like to watch it without the music, because that's what propels it, right? Can you describe what it was like the first time you saw it with John's all-encompassing music on it?
Yeah, I don't think I saw it until there was a premiere or a cast and crew screening. So, but I did hear, again, Tommy Wallace. That's why you demand he come to these things. He was the editor on it, and he said they showed the movie, obviously as they're doing it to each other to see how it's going. And he said, yeah, it's working. I think it's working. Then John did the music, and they showed it again. And they went, oh my God, it's working. It wasn't just working, but now it's working. It was night and day. They said it was like we thought it was working, but now we knew it was working. It's just like that's how important music can be.
Totally. It's a couple of babysitters walking down the street until you go bing, bing.
Yeah, exactly. And in those days, working on the film, it was much more complicated to do like a temporary music track to see what it would be like. It could be done, but it's much more complicated than it is now. For instance, I know David, Gordon Green, who's directing the new one, he has a temp track on this thing, so he really knows what it's going to feel like.
Right. That's good.
Yeah, I actually had the music playing on my phone, but it was kind of drowned out, so I turned it off. Thank you.
Cheers, man.
John was, for that music, I saw it, I was really proud of him. I think the American Film Institute did the 50